Hello, everyone. This is Rochelle Rosenberg again, and have a great Shabbat to each and every one of you. Have a great Saturday and weekend wherever you are, and I hope that you have had a very wonderful weekend or week. So this week we're just gonna talk about the Ki Tetzei, and I hope that you will. Be here and hang around. So our weekly portion is Kitetzei, right? So from the last week's Torah portion, we actually had the Ki Tavo. Oh no, we had the Kitetzei from the last time, but now we will have the Ki Tavo. All right. So I have a little bit of problem here. So right. Anyway, the Ki Tavo means when you go in, but from the last week was Kitetzei. And the last portion listed were less than 74 of the Torah's 613 commandments, covering a wide assortment of rules related to social life in Israel. In this week's portion, Moses concludes the legal section of his discourse by first ordaining that the first fruits or bikurim of the crops be brought to the priests in the central sanctuary in a prescribed ritual. Right. So we're gonna cover up the kitavo at this moment. And kitavo means in Hebrew or in English, it is when you go in. And this refers to when you are going to execute your faith. And how are you going to live your faith? So it's very important to understand the meaning of our weekly portions, and it has a lot of relationship to our lives, right? And if you have been watching here for the past few weeks about the weekly reading, you will have the understanding of how we read the Bible every day and then the weekly. So this portion speaks a lot about the remembrance of the blessings and the first fruits, and it covers that formal the declaration, right? And the tithes as well. Where are they going? And it speaks a lot about respecting the ground, the blessings, your tithes, and what are you fulfilled to do? What are you commanded to do? The ordinances and why you have to do them. And what are you as a person have to remember through the curses and the blessings? Is it legal for us to speak those curses, or is it legal for us just to say the blessings? And what are the things we have to consider when it comes to these things, right? So let's just maybe jump into the topic. So since this month is the month of Elul, September is the month of Elul, which is mostly called Teshuvah. It's This event is called Teshuvah. It's a repentance month before the Rosh Chodesh, or before the beginning of the yearly yearly celebration, or it's like a new year in the Bible. And in Israel, they also celebrate these kinds of celebration, and it will be their season. very, very soon. All right. So the last month of the Jewish calendar is called uh, Elul, as I have said, and it began on Wednesday, August 19th, and it's the beginning of a 40-day season of Teshuvah that culminates of the solemn holiday of Yom Kippur in the days of awe, or it's the days of atonement. It corresponds to that, right? And during this time, we make additional effort to repent or to turn towards God. So by this weekly reading, you will understand that there is a connection on how we are going to understand repentance. How are we going to understand how do we turn to God? How do we manage our inner problems or inner soul distractions to be in its right place and wake up our godly soul, right? And since it is during this time that the Lord forgave the Jewish nation after the sin of the golden calf, some of the sages or the great rabbis liken these 40 days to the number of days it takes for the human fetus to be formed within the womb. So the womb holds a child in 9 months, correspondence to that. Now let's get on to directly to the reading. So the reading talks a lot about the Ki Tavo. Moses instructs the people of Israel when you enter the land. Okay, so this says when you enter the land that God is giving you as an eternal heritage or a possession, and you settle it and cultivate it. So here's the number one, or the second thing. The first is when you enter the land, and then the second is bring the first ripened fruits, or bikurim in Hebrew, of your orchard to the holy temple and declare your number three is gratitude. So first is enter the land, bring the ripened fruits, and declare your gratitude. So our parasha also includes the laws of tithes given to the Levites and to the poor. So what is the tithes actually meant? And detailed instructions on how to proclaim the blessings and the curses on Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. As discussed in the beginning of the parasha of Re'eh, Moses reminds the people that they are God's chosen people and that they in turn have chosen God. So the latter part of Ki Tavo consists of the Tochanan or rebuke. So it consists of rebuke after listing the blessings with which God will reward the people when they follow the laws of the Torah. And Moses gives a long, harsh account of the bad things or illness, famine, poverty, and exile that shall befall them if they abandon commandments. Moses concludes by telling the people that only today, or 40 days after the birth as a people, have attained a heart to know, eyes to see, and ears to hear. So I know that many of you recognize those words, heart to know, eyes to see, and ears to hear. So remember again that this portion, this weekly reading, has the the main topic when you enter the land, bring the first ripened fruits and declare a gratitude. And then as you enter the land and you have brought the fruits, you have to give the tithes to the Levites or to the priests, and then to the poor, and then consider even the widow. And then you will proclaim the curses and the blessings on Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, right? Since they are God's chosen people. So after the listings of the curses and God will also reward the people when they follow the commandments of the Torah, right? And if they do not obey that, there will be like bad things that will come to them, like illness, famine, poverty, and exile, right? So we're just gonna jump into the topic. And yes. All right. So Ki Tavo, you can find that in chapter 26, verse 1 to chapter 29, verse 8. So remember God in all the blessings that we receive. So that is in the first reading in 26, 5 to 10. It says that, and you shall call out and say before the Lord, and you will speak all of these things, remembering everything that God had done into your life, remembering how He have carried you through, and where you have been coming from and where you are right now. Those are actually the things that God had done in your life. Those are what we say miracles in your life. And then, behold, it says that you shall rejoice with all the good that the Lord your God has granted you and your household, you, the Levite, and the stranger who is among you. So this also talks a lot about being thankful about our own community, our environment, our beloved ones, relatives, and so on, and everything that we have. So here, this speaks a lot about the affliction, the toil and oppression, right? The cruelty that we experience, the hard labor that we experience. These are the things that we have to be thankful for, or we have to be thankful about, because without these things, we will not see the miracles of God. And now we're going to go to the next. And here we are going to serve God by sharing the blessings selflessly. So if you read the verse, it says here that you have to give your tithing of your produce. You will give it to the Levite. There are four people or four sorts or categories of people you have to consider when you give these tithes. This was not money and this was food. It says here you have to give it to the Levite, and the Levites are the servants of God. They are the leaders, or they are the priests. In the Jewish concept, these are their highest rabbis or teachers. And then you have to consider the stranger, the orphans, and the widows. So when you have the tithe, you have to give it to the Levites, the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. Four categories, right? And what are you going to do? You will not eat anything of it. Everything you will give it to them. You will not consume any of it. You will not benefit from it, and you will not even desire of it. It will go to them because it is your service to the Lord selflessly. Now, in obedience, you choose God, and God will select you. How should we understand this? It says here that if you select the Lord this day to be your God and to walk in His ways and to observe His statutes, His commandments, and His ordinances, and to obey Him, and the Lord has selected you this day to be His treasured people, right? And to make you supreme above all the nations that He made you. So, in this manner, if you choose God, God will select you. That means you can be chosen among many. Your whole group can be chosen as a servant of God. But in obedience, there will be selected the best ones, right? They are the best fruits. They are the, it's called in the Bible, they are the produce, they are the produce of yourselves. So therefore, if you want to understand obedience to God, you have to choose God. You have to choose what is correct in His eyes, or his statutes, his commandments. And his commandments are actually more or less the social lifestyle, our community lifestyle, the changes in our attitude, the development of our spiritual life. It's very important to consider that faith is something that you have to choose. It is not something that is to be forced to you. You can listen to it, you can hear it, but you yourself have to choose it, right? You can be instructed and be preached to be saved, but it is your responsibility to save yourself from the destruction that is about to come into this world. And we know for the truth that there is an end of every life. So therefore, it is best to at least do something about it. Right. So now we're going to go on to the next. Commandments needs hard work to be observed so that it will go well with our lives. So most of us actually don't like commandments. We don't like rules because it goes beyond our wants. It is something that goes against in what we want to do, and we always want to do what we want, right? So it is important to go to the reading and let's understand it. It says here that in following the commandments, if we read the Bible, it says, when you cross, you shall write upon them all the words of this Torah. Where do they have to write it? They have to write it on a stone and then plaster or cover it with lime. So the text is burnt in black and then the plaster is white. So what will happen? You will clearly see the stone, right? It says here that you have to set up yourself huge stones. So yourself means alone. Each and every one of them or individually have to set up these commandments in their life. It is not something that you just have to ordain everybody to do and you will not do. It means every one of us have to follow or obey it so that it will go well with us. And it also means that we have to work hard to be developed. If we want change in our lives, it needs hard work. It's just like if you want to become uh, fit, you want to become fit, you have to train. But you cannot train if you don't put effort and hard work in it. If you don't carry the weights, then the muscles won't develop. If you just stretched out and so on, your flexibility will probably become more or less become better, but the muscle structure will not become strong because there's no food and there's no weight that you are putting into your to yourself. So you need to have the hard work to do this and to obey the commandments. And now we're gonna go on to the next topic, which is a little bit difficult to understand. And here, speaks a lot about the 12 tribes that would stand against each other in the mountains, Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. And then they would speak these kinds of curses. If you check this chapter 27, it goes first with the curses against the first six tribes of Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Joseph, and Benjamin. And then on Mount Ebal stands Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. And then comes along the 12 curses that will happen to each and everyone. The 12 curses are actually one of the normal things we think that everybody do in community. Okay, let's go through them. Number one, it says here that those who make molten image is an abomination to the Lord. Because why? The handiwork of a craftsman and sets up in secret, right? Most of these things goes against God, right? He don't like this because he already put it in the Ten Commandments. There's no other gods before him. Now, number two is cursed be he who degrades his father and mother, and all the people shall say amen. This also means that if we refer to the Ten Commandments, we have to honor our father and mother. And degrading our parents also means that we should give them respect. We should give them the right honor and respect, even though they might have some kind of mistakes or irresponsibility in the past, or maybe we are experiencing it right now. We still have no right to degrade them, because when we do that, we are going through the same path like them. We will be going through like them, and then the curses will be on ourselves. Remember that we all become parents as well. So if we degrade them, it will also goes on our heads, and it's not karma, but it is the result of what we are doing. And the number three of the 12 is the cursed be he who moves back his neighbor's landmark. Who moves back is also the term of like stealing. If you steal the landmark of your neighbor, that's against God. He don't want that we are stealing, doesn't it? That's also in the Ten Commandments. Number four, cursed be he who misguides a blind person on the way. This means that if you are cheating an ignorant or inexperienced, giving them bad advice, that's also misguiding a blind person, right? And that is not good. God does not like that. And number five, cursed be he who perverts the judgment of the stranger, orphan, or the widow. And here, this comes to those judges who do not defend those who are in need. A stranger, that's a foreigner, an orphan, a person who does not have any parents at all, and a widow, a person who have a partner that died. God do not like the people who are perverting judgment. So in number six of the 12 curses in Deuteronomy 27, cursed be he who lies with his father's wife, right? So God does not like as well. You know that in some countries or in some places we hear the news about children who are sleeping with their parents or with their mother, right? God does not like that as well. He don't want any nakedness or uncovering, because what he do there is trumping the rights, or he's degrading the rights of his father, because that is the wife of his father and he is the child of his mother. So he don't have the right to do that. And then the number 7 is cursed be he who lies with any animal. It means that there are also people who are practicing their sexual act on animals, and God does not allow that. The scriptures is forbidding this kind of behavior. This is evil and wicked. Now let's go to number 8 of the curses. Cursed be he who lies with his sister. This means incest, and God does not like that. God do not want that a person should not touch their own family, their mother, their sister. So for women, don't touch your brother. For for men, don't touch your sister in that kind of way. This is very, very bad against God, and He do not like this kind. That's why people are cursed in this kind of manner when they do the incest troubles or the incest problems. Now, let's go to the number 9. Cursed be he who lies with his mother-in-law. And mother-in-law means that if you have a second mother, that's the second wife of your father, you cannot do, you cannot get married to that woman because it is first married by your father. So in that sense, she becomes your mother as well. So due to the commandments to respect or honor your father and mother, she's a little bit included in that part. And no matter how much bad they have treated you from the past, as I have said, you have no right to disrespect them in any matter, degrade, defame, or in any sort of way, because when you do that, you are disregarding God's command. On the next is, cursed be he who strike his fellow in secret. It's also not good to slander someone. If you do, if you slander someone, this also goes against the false witness against your neighbor, right? So all of them goes along or ties along with the commandments, the 10 commandments of God. So that's in number 10. And number 11, cursed be he who takes a bribe to put an innocent person to death. These are also goes to the judges or to the prosecutors or to the authorities who uses their power, or those who are rich who uses their properties or their possessions to put someone else's death. If the person is innocent and they kill them using a bribe, God also do not like that. And number 12, cursed be he who does not uphold the words of this Torah. You see, even if we don't obey the words of God, we can also be put into the curse. Means that if we don't change our lifestyle, our spiritual life, our community mindset, or the life that we are living in, if we don't make a change, we all have the responsibility, and the curses is even on the lives of each and every one of us. We suffer from the consequences that we are putting on our heads. So, but the good thing is this: the blessings and peace comes along when we are obedient. You can find that in 28, and that's in 14, right? In 14 to 15, it says here that if we don't turn right or left, if we don't worship the statues or the molten image, the pictures or any sort that represents God, if we don't worship this, God will um, God will bless us, right? If we the blessings comes as well whenever we respect the privacy and integrity of other people. If we obey and observe, it means when we observe is when we remember, and when we obey is that when we do. Okay, we remember and then we do these commandments of God. Mostly of the things that we are going to do or we are required to do according to the Bible are most of the changes that we can do if we just give it a hard work. All right. And in everything, we will have no shortage. We will have no confusion. We will have no turmoil. There is no sickness in our lives. Everything that we produce will prosper if we obey God. There will be no pestilence, right? If you obey God, if you respect your parents, God will not put on you sickness, and God will not God will not give you confusion if you respect your fellow people and try to zipper your mouth. Now let's go on to the next. Be thankful for all the great trials, the signs and wonders God had brought to your life. So in this last chapter reading, it says here that the great trials which your very eyes beheld, those great signs and wonders, yet until this day, the Lord has not given you a heart to know, eyes to see, and ears to hear. And that is the thing that we are learning now, that we are led by our Messiah to have the heart to know, eyes to see, and ears to hear. And there are only few people who can actually understand what I'm saying in here. And if that is you, then you know that you are on the right track of this life. Be thankful and don't complain that you have went through all those difficulties in life. If you have the worst experience in your life and you cannot contain whenever you get flashbacks from them, be thankful because they are the ones that made you strong. They are the ones that makes you who you are today. And remember that the signs and wonders actually happened in your life because there are many things you never thought you could survive, and there are many situations you think you could never ever resolve by yourself. But God is so powerful and faithful that He provides you these wonderful things in life. So no matter what happens, be grateful of what He gives you. Be grateful of what He provides you. No matter how long you have waited, God suddenly gave you the signs and the wonders and the miracles for you to survive until this day. Look at the way you dress. Look at the way you live. Look at all the possessions that you have. These are all the additional blessings that God has given you. But remember, the great trials, the signs and wonders that God had brought into your life, those are something that you have to treasure. And those are priceless, right? So I hope that you have actually thought of the things that I have shared today. So today we talked about, on a roundup, we're going to go to that it is about Ki Tavo, or when you go in. It means that Before, it was when they go out, but now when they go in. When you go in means now it is time to execute the faith, right? And we talked about the remember God and all the blessings we received, serving God by sharing the blessings selflessly. In obedience, we choose God, and God will select us. Commandments needs hard work to be observed so that it will go well with our lives. The 12 curses that we have to remember in executing our faith. The blessings and peace comes along when we are obedient. And then the last is be thankful for all the great trials, the signs and wonders. Now, next week, we're gonna have the Netzabim, or means standing. Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 9, and chapter 30 to the verse 20. So, I hope that each and every one of you have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. Shavuot Tov to each and every one of you. And soon we're gonna have our next celebration for the Rosh Chodesh. And I hope that each and everyone have a wonderful time. So thank you and see you again.